Cuba, so I'm a Cuban refugee. My parents came here with nothing, and there was no Fidel Castro here to take the property away from you. And one of their biggest regrets is that they had an idea or a dream that they never even took the first step to pursue it. So I want to give my grandkids and my kids everything that I didn't have, but that's the biggest mistake you can make in life. Because when you give them everything, you create a monster.
I've never done side hustles. I gave it everything and then it failed. See, I'm gonna beat the side hustle guy initially. Eventually, they will be able to build their business up. But if they're competing with somebody that is constantly 24/7 searching for a specific thing, the side hustle guy is gonna call when they're off of work, and I already saw it, made the offer, and I'm in escrow.
Welcome back to another installment of Carl Versus. I'm your real income mentor, Carl Grande. And today on the show, we have actually two established friends of mine and investors that I love and care about, Mike and Pablo Pomez. They're actually on YouTube. You should subscribe to their channel. Their channel is called The Mike and Pablo Show. They talk about life, business, a little bit of everything on that channel. So you guys are going to love it. They're going to talk about two parts of commercial real estate. This episode, we're going to talk about the ins and outs of the business. They're going to talk about the transactional side and then the investment side. One of them has experience in investing, the other one has experience in transactions. And this is going to be real interesting because commercial real estate is one of those sexy businesses. It's one of those businesses that people think they can make a lot of money on. So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to see exactly what this looks like, what the difficulties are, what the income can look like when from a transactional or residual standpoint. I'm also going to talk about the difficulties and other things like that. So you guys are going to want to tune in. Make sure you hit that subscribe on the Real Income Mentor so you can get notifications of all other episodes that are coming shortly. I got a bunch of other careers that we're going to be digging into. So that's going to be really cool. And then you can hit that notification bell as well and make sure that you get notified on all of the content that comes out. So tune in. This is going to be the same format as we did last time, where I'm going to just give you my thoughts throughout the episode. And then at the end of the show, I'm going to go ahead and rate the profession. If you want to look at commercial real estate as a side hustle, as you'll see in the episode, it's not going to be necessarily what we think it's going to be, but I'll go ahead and rate it and then we'll see if this is going to be a good one for you. Check it out. I got Pablo and I got Mike here. You guys are creators on the Mike and Pablo Show. A Father and Son is the episode, right? That's what it's called?
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You guys talk about business, life. I think a little bit of politics too, or not so much. Try to avoid politics.
Pablo more gets into that.
Well, no, but it's cool, man. And I'm glad you guys are here because this channel, Carl Versus on the Real Income Mentor, is all about helping people make more money. You guys are very familiar with that. Just so you guys know, our listeners, we actually worked together, Mike and I, years ago in financial services, and our backgrounds are similar. And Pablo had mentored both of us. Pablo, being Mike's dad, had mentored us in business and in life. And so it's been really quite a blessing just being here and talking with you guys. So that's cool. I'm glad you guys are here, that you're participating, you're joining in on helping people make money. And today we're talking about commercial real estate. And that's really what I want to get into because very lucrative, very sexy type business, right? Or at least the thought process of it, because you think commercial real estate, you think big commissions. I want to get kind of the lowdown on how people can really make money, even if they have no experience, right? So if there's no experience in commercial real estate, what would need to be done? What kind of personality people should have in this? And so we're just going to talk and have a conversation here, just kind of get going. But before we get into it, maybe you guys can give me some background and our viewers on who you are, what you guys do, how you got in the industry, and just what kind of surprised you about getting started. But go ahead.
Go for it.
Why don't you start? You've been around longer.
Been around longer? Okay. So real quick, I was born in Cuba, so I'm a Cuban refugee. My parents came here with nothing, and they always had the idea that I had to go to college, and I did. But then I ended up going into business, okay? I tried everything. I mean, I worked at Pop and Taco, I worked at Miller's Outpost. You probably never heard of this stuff, but I worked at all kinds of places until I landed with the insurance business. And that
Mm.
provided the background and the backbone. And I knew that I had to learn a lot because I got hired on a whim, so to speak, because the manager asked me, "Do you know anything about insurance?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." And I didn't know a thing. But he knew that I wanted to learn. And so I ended up studying a lot at night, not going to parties, not going to nightclubs, trying to get the business going. And it got going. And the first money that I had that was disposable, I bought real estate because that's what my father said. We came from Cuba. This was the promised land, and there was no Fidel Castro here to take the property away from you. And so
Wow.
I always had that thought about investing in property. And here we are. I tell you what, Carl, 42, 41 years later. So that's basically me. Now you go for it.
Wow, what a way to start the episode. He literally said the opportunity in the United States that Fidel Castro is not here to take the property. Man, God bless the USA, and let's go get this bread.
I grew up in an insurance agency. One of the things our parents did was they always had us around. So when we weren't in school, we were helping filing, we were answering phone calls, we were taking customer payments. This is your home and auto insurance,
Yeah,
right?
PNC.
PNC. It was an all-state insurance agency, and so in Temple City. And so we grew up seeing that and interacting with customers. And so at 18 years old, I didn't know what I was going to do. I went to Pasadena City College. I didn't really know what my future was. But my dad said, "Get your insurance license." I got my license, and then I started learning insurance. That's where you and I met. And then I
Mhm.
decided I wanted to get into real estate. I didn't know at first commercial real estate, but I knew real estate. Even though growing up, my parents always invested in commercial buildings because they would buy the building that they ran their business out of. That was the thing that we saw growing up. It's like, hey, we're going to move across the street to a bigger building because we outgrew this one. We're going to rent the old one and we're going to buy the one across the street.
Yep.
And so, oh, okay, they bought it, ugly, fix it up. We would be in there with hammers. And then, hey, we're going to move again across the street to another one. We're going to rent that old one out and we're going to buy the new building. And so it was always seeing how that created stability because the neighbors were getting kicked out. In the commercial space, you don't have as many rent protections as a tenant that you do in residential. The investors would come in, they didn't want that tenant in there, they'd get them out. And so we were seeing the neighborhood changing, commercial businesses. When I decided to sell my book of business in financial services and go into real estate, I eventually found the commercial path, which is what I like a lot. You're dealing with business owners. That's kind of a little bit of how I got into this.
Awesome. No, and business owners, you're talking to people that have what Pablo used to call ganas,
Yeah.
and just like-mindedness when it comes to risk, when it comes to moving things along, getting things done. I mean, who wouldn't want to work with an entrepreneurial mindset like that? So that's really cool. I appreciate you guys sharing that. Can you tell me a little bit more about when you realized that this was a real income path for you, that pursuing commercial real estate would provide that freedom, just ability to get ahead, right? Sometimes so many people are stuck check to check because they don't have some sort of way to really move the needle. So when was it that time that you guys realized that this was something that you really wanted to pursue, and what kind of surprised you in that?
Well, as the years went by, I started realizing that the investments that I had made in commercial real estate were beginning to replace the income that I was making in the insurance business.
So now this is the second time that we've heard from another profession that the side hustle or secondary revenue stream is the way to go to replace the income. You want to make money first before you leave the 9 to 5 and work the 5 to 9 to make the money to see your proof of concept. Interesting.
And we were doing well in the insurance business. So then I set a mindset of a goal to, for stability's sake, have that income grow, the commercial side of it. And that became a goal. And anytime you put a goal in place, for everybody out there, you go back to that goal, you look at it maybe daily, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, but you definitely look at it and you see that goal and you see it growing because that's what you're shooting for. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that, especially lately, because I'm older now. In fact, in a week, I'm going to turn 67 years old.
Wow.
So Mike is laser focused. I have to say, much more than I was at his age. I didn't have that many paths, so it's not like I was, all over the place either. But his timing, he doesn't waste it. Where I was more giving on that end. When the real estate started replacing the income from the insurance, I got very serious on it, and
Wow.
yeah, that's the time.
Well, being 67, let me just tell you, you don't look 67 and you look great. Replacing any sort of income, with like an investment or a side hustle pursuit or something like that. My gosh, man, that's the dream, because it starts to change in your mind, what's possible. That's probably the biggest advantage to working a job or a career and then also pursuing other ventures. Like what you were saying, opportunities present themselves and then you have the ability to go and grab it, right? And that's what I'm hearing. Very good. I like that. I like that a lot.
If I can add to this, so much of it is mindset, which I know you subscribe to. Like, God is big in your faith, is big in your life, your family, also your mindset in business. You're not here just to do a transaction. And I think that from the beginning, what Pablo's highlighting is that there were a lot of insurance agents, his peers, that were there to just do insurance and make money generating that. But what he was trying to do, and what we saw growing up, was you generate income through insurance to invest it,
Mm.
to create freedom, financial freedom. Send your kids to private schools or wherever you want to send them. That's what we had the benefit of growing up in that. So then now we're the next generation. Our parents and grandparents sacrificed a lot. And so now I feel a responsibility to make that worthwhile for them, because I've been given a huge opportunity. I was born with a social security number. I was born here in California, and I was also raised in a business mindset and family. So I have to do something big with my life. That's the way I look at it. I always
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it even, I mean, that's the third generation, right? The fact that Michael's grateful enough to see all the work that his family had done previously, that's crucial because he's now taking responsibility on himself to actually become successful because of the prior work the previous generations did. We should all take what Michael's doing and apply it to our lives. Just a tad. All the statistics say that after the third generation, the wealth dissipates and disappears because the work ethic and just the overall tenacity to grow and to maintain and to work hard, it's all gone. I mean, our kids, my daughter is not starting from a place of survival we all knew and came from, you know? She's coming from a place of abundance and so are your kids,
right.
So the fact of the matter is that it's almost double the work in some instances that we have to do because it's not just modeling good work ethic, it's also modeling like what it takes in your character to be able to maintain and grow in this way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I really
We're
respect
we're constantly talking about it because there's all the grandkids with my siblings have kids too. So all the his grandkids, teaching them to appreciate and value things. Even something as simple as yesterday we talked about when I got my truck. He I put the $1,000 down and he helped me finance it. And then at a certain point I got a job and he's like, pay me back now. And
that.
he didn't
Mm.
need my measly few $1,000s to pay him back. He didn't need it, but you're teaching your kids something. So, maybe our kids won't go through the same struggle. I know I didn't go through the same struggle that he did and my mom, and right, but you can still teach them to value things, maybe make them pay for things.
Well, the worst thing you can do, because I'm older now, so I want to give my grandkids and my kids everything that I didn't have, but that's the biggest mistake you can make in life. Because
Ooh.
when you give them everything that you didn't have, I say a lot, you create a monster. And
I
it's
think
not.
I'm seeing that right now, and I probably need to self-correct. So we got to talk more about that on another time.
So, yeah, because there's nothing like working and earning what you get. So that's why I made them pay for their truck. And believe me, when I did that, I had a lot of family members call me up and chew me out, call me cheap, call me this and that. And
Mm.
in some instances, they actually shook my belief. I went back to the drawing board thinking, am I doing something wrong here? Am I being bad? Making my kids pay back for the truck. I always reverted to the fact that I never got an allowance. I always had to work for whatever I needed. I stayed strong in that. And I think overall it worked out because look, he just got rid of his truck. He had it for 19 years. He
Wow.
just sold it, what,
Yeah, a couple months ago.
a couple months ago.
F-150, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. And Paul, Paul, his brother, I did the same thing to Paul. He got I got him a truck and I said, hey, when you get a job, you have to pay me back what I paid for the truck. And he did. And he just got rid of it 3 years ago or something like that. So they took care of those trucks. I think if you work for it, you will take care of things. And if you don't, if things are given to you, you're not going to value them as much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, great stuff for all you parents out there who are business owners trying to instill good habits and good morals into your children. Take note to Pablo. Go to their YouTube channel and subscribe to their channel, The Mike and Pablo Show. Now, check this out, you guys. We're talking about making money now. We got
Yeah.
kind of the intro. So I want to talk about the income model now and what it takes to get started, right? So what does it take to get started as far as licensing or as far as like activity? And what does your first year realistically look like in action that you have to take and also income? Let's start there.
So I'll share my experience because Paulo's experience in commercial real estate started as a real estate investor. Even though
Okay.
he's a broker and has been, he wasn't selling real estate, he was investing in it. My experience in commercial real estate is in the sales side first. And
Gotcha.
then through sales, so I would say there's two
Paths.
paths you can take. There's the path of sales to earn a commission, and then there's the path of investing in commercial real estate. So there's two.
Okay, so let's pay attention to this. I think I like the investor side more than the transactional side, but I want to know how they're making money. I want to know how you're going to be able to make money. So let's just see where this goes.
I'll start with the sales side because that's really where my main focus is
Mhm.
and our focus for our company. The way that you need a real estate license to get started if you're going to be representing clients. There are other ways of generating income in real estate. There's wholesaling and different things. But if you're going to represent a client on a purchase or if you're going to represent a client in selling a commercial building, you need a real estate license.
Is that separate from the residential real estate license?
It's the same license.
Oh, okay.
What it is that you could either specialize in residential or specialize in commercial, but it's the same license.
I like this a lot. You guys, commercial real estate is big money and you only need a license. It's like $600.
It's kind of like a doctor that specializes in cardiology, right? He's a medical doctor, first general, and then you do your specialty. That's the
Got
way I look at it, at least. So it's just a real estate license, and then you have to hang that license with a broker. And so the broker is going to make a commission on every deal that you close.
Right,
And you
right.
have to negotiate your split with that broker. You're familiar with that, right?
Very
There's
familiar. My mom's a broker. Your dad's a broker. Working for the man. You know what I mean? But no, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So you get the license. You know, the course material is probably $300, and then the license is another $400 or $500, something like that, right?
something
So,
like that.
so barrier to entry as far as cost, you're talking $600.
Very small.
That's incredible. $600 barrier to entry, which is cool. No formal education required, anything like that. See,
No,
who
and
writes these rules, man? I love this stuff. This is exactly why people on this channel should be watching, because they don't know what's out there. People don't understand that they could make money and make big money with huge transactions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars with licenses and
Correct.
time and hard work. So that's really important. You need a license to get started, and you need a broker that's willing to take you on, and you got to have enough pizzazz, right? Maybe you got some sizzle, but you got to learn the steak, and now you have to figure out what kind of split you're going to get with your broker.
correct.
Yeah, and you got to negotiate that. And the more you bring to the table, the better you can get on that split. But you asked about the first year.
Right.
Tell you, I personally got into this business maybe in a different situation. For me, it was a career change. And so I had in a bank account a nice chunk of money, knowing that this was going to take me time to grow this business.
Oh, so you had kind of been thinking about this for a while and then stored up some money to then be able to execute.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
really smart.
So for me, I came in with a a nice savings, because I just knew anytime you start a business, every dollar you're gonna make, you for me, I reinvest into the business. That was, especially the initial years. Every dollar you make,
Mm.
you got to reinvest, whether it's in marketing.
These guys are smart, okay? Reinvesting money, saving money to start, that's crucial, man. Most people do not start a business that way. Maybe they do a side hustle or they start the business, but then they take money out of the business. And that's kind of like taking money out of your investments. If you know anything about compound interest, you don't take from that account. You do not take from something that's building. Same with the business. So these guys are smart. Subscribe to their channel.
But what do you need to close deals on the sales side in commercial real estate? You have to be able to talk to, let's say, business owners for us, and convince them that you're capable of finding them a property, getting them a good deal on it, negotiating it, and closing it where they feel that they're protected by you. So if you're really green, you're going to have to convince that business owner that, hey, I can do this job for you. I'm more green than Pablo. So where I would say I'm very fortunate that, when I need to bring in the gray hair's here, you know. But he brings a lot
Yeah.
of experience, and then I bring a, I would say, more of the maybe creativity, thinking a little outside the box, or a little bit more hustle, because Pablo is in a different position in his life than I am. But together, I feel that we're able to bring a lot to the table, and that's worked for us.
That's awesome, man. That right there is so crucial because you're talking about real experience and mentorship that you could lean on. In addition to having skills of being able to communicate, convey value and trust, right? Because that's kind of what you were saying. You have to be able to show them that a deal could be made, right? That and you're the one to be able to buy it right. That's really important for people to understand that the personality type that you need, the person that and the skills that you need have to be somewhat extroverted, but there's like a level of confidence too, right? That you have to have in, the old saying is you can't BS a BSer,
Yeah, you can't kind
and
of.
yeah, man. I mean, I call myself being in sales for so long, like I'm just a chameleon. I am who you need me to be, and I'm just gonna figure it out after, So that's just my whole approach and outlook on life. It hasn't really always worked in everything, especially, being a husband. You don't want to do that, but you got to think twice. But in business, man, err on the side of action. That's what I think is important that you're saying, like having these types of skills. At the beginning, though, I'm sure there's some mistakes that people are making where if you're trying to close these deals, there's things that you're doing right in your search for this, for this deal or for this commercial property, like comps, right? You're looking at comparables and things like that. So what are some of the common mistakes that new people make in this industry?
You want to cover that, or?
You know, that's a very good question. The residential is a different type of monster than commercial, okay?
Okay.
Because in commercial, there's a lot of things that you have to be involved with usage. You got to get city permits. There's a wide variety of things, okay? But people make mistakes, but what I want to tell people is go for it. Don't be afraid of making the mistakes because nothing is perfect.
This is wisdom, my friends. Do not be afraid to make mistakes.
And the only way you're going to learn is by get out there and doing it. So you might make a mistake in a comparable. You might be comparing, a donut shop to a retail place. And you need to realize that they're totally different things because you might be looking at let's say, a little strip place and you're comparing it to a industrial park. So you have industrial, you have commercial, you have retail. So it involves a lot. And what I can tell people is, yes, you're going to make mistakes, but as long as you can own up to it, let the business owner know, hey, you know what? I thought it was this, but you know what? I found out that it's actually this. So let me adjust right here and explain to you how this works. And then be genuine because I think every buyer, whether they're in business or not, they're going to see right through you if you try to cover something up. So on
Mm.
the mistake side, what I'm saying is own up to it. Let them know, hey, I thought it was this, but it's actually this. Let's pivot here.
Yeah.
It's a really good point, and I'd like to add one specific mistake that I've made. Wanting to build a relationship with a business owner or a client so much that I don't go through the proper forms of representation. Everything is forms now and agreements.
Mm.
So For example, somebody says, "Hey, I'm looking for this kind of property." Okay, well, are you going to work with me? Are you committing to us work together? We sign an agreement to work together.
That is tough for a new entrant. How's a new person as a side hustle looking to get into commercial real estate going to get somebody to commit to an agreement? That's almost impossible, especially for like a multi-million dollar property. So let's see if they have a solution for this very big problem.
If, in the past, I wouldn't throw that in the conversation at the beginning. And so what happens is you go and you do a lot of work looking for a property for a client, and they can go directly once it comes on the market. They don't have to go through you because there's no agreement,
Wow.
or whatever the case, they go with somebody else. So that's one thing specifically that I have struggled with is, when do I bring that up? Like, are you committing to me? Are we working together? Or are you just telling everybody, find me a property? Is that somebody you want to work with? So
Gotcha.
that's the struggle I've had.
You know what? I mean, business is not for the faint of heart. It's a dog eat dog world out there in business, and I could totally see how you needing to come up with some sort of way to protect your time, right? Because once we talk about the income model, we know that there's no money on that kind of stuff. There's only money when a transaction's done,
When it
right?
closes.
When it
Commission.
closes. And I'm sure there's other ways to make money in commercial real estate, which we'll probably explore. But when it closes, that's when you get paid. So, how do you protect your time up front? I think in any business, you're going to spend a lot of time in the beginning in trying to establish credibility and establish your name as somebody that's trustworthy in the market. A lot of times people get into debt for that. I totally respect what you did about saving money and then getting in this business. That's smart, bro. That's something that most people do not do, and that's why most people honestly fail. Like, what's the failure rate of this?
It's got to be over 90%,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
Oh
90%.
wow, 90% failure rate. Yeah.
Yeah, up in the high 80s, if not. Yes.
Okay, so with an 80 to 90% failure rate, this is for a strong person. This is not for the faint of heart. The strong are only going to survive in this field.
I mean, it, it
Wow.
it really depends. I think if you have like a good mentor, or if how long you're going in it. Because again, real estate, the barrier of entry is pretty small. So people get a license and do it part time. Maybe do one transaction a year, one every 5 years. That's why. So I don't know. Do you consider that success? To me, that's like, if you're in business and you're doing one transaction a year, that's a failure.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to be any financial freedom unless you find a whale, and you sell one $50 million, property a year. But even then, it's like, no, I think you probably need more, transactions to get some momentum, right? You need momentum.
Yes. So let me bring up something that's very important. I do
Okay.
have the great hair, okay? And I do have a lot of experience in real
You a
estate.
silver fox. You a silver
Yeah.
fox, my friend.
But let me tell you this. I always look at the day, every single day of my life to learn something, and I'm learning a lot as it is because look, my experience prior to this was as an investor. I would come in as an investor and I will tell the person that was representing me, even though I had a real estate broker's license, that wasn't my main source of income because I was making my income in the insurance business. So I would tell that person, this is what I want, this and that, and whatever. Sometimes investors can be a little bit strong, okay? Because they're
Mhm.
coming with the cash, they know what I want. So that was my experience originally. Now I'm representing people, I'm representing other business owners. I had to learn some different tactics in order to become successful in that field. So that's why I'm telling you, and I'll reiterate, don't worry about making mistakes. Jump in the water and start learning how to swim. And as you get stronger, your strokes get better. Just jump in the water if it's what you want to do. And just realize that you need a little bit of growing time and you need to study and so forth
Right.
because you really don't become financially independent by making just a commission. You become financially independent by buying property and keeping it and having that passive income because the only way you're going to be financially independent is if you can make money in your sleep, if you can make money not necessarily being there running that show. You need to let your money make money for you, and
Wow.
that's financial independence in a nutshell.
Pablo right now is reiterating what every financial guru tells you already, which is to make your money work for you. That's just the truth about it. These are not gurus, these are regular people with families who started businesses, grew up within business, and they're telling you what all the gurus say. So do what they say. Make your money, make money. That's invest. That's rich dad, poor dad right there, you
There you
know?
go.
And talking about a business, owning a system, or being an investor, right? That's like the where you want to be, on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. That leads me into my next couple of questions, which is this kind of business, or this side hustle, if you will, is this more of like a producer role or a business owner role? Can you enter this independently, or can you do it under a big corporation? And if so, like, what are the differences between big corporate, commercial real estate firms versus the mom and pop commercial brokerage situation?
In terms of a big, huge commercial brokerage, I can't speak on that because that's not my experience. When I got into this, we are our own company, and our brokerage is with the property manager. He's got maybe one other person. And
Okay.
so it's not a huge firm. Really, we're able to run our business how we see fit, and we have a lot of freedom. I
Got
think when you go with the larger names, you're going to have more structure, which could be good, especially if you're new, and maybe
mm,
more mentorship that comes at a cost because maybe less freedom to do, let's say, other things.
innovate.
And
Yeah.
that's the way it goes, right? So I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, yeah, I think that answered the one question about the being independent and doing this and then working for a large firm. I think both you and I can attest to working at the big company for experience. I mean, personally, when I left Allstate Financial, I just took everything I learned there and moved it to the independent channel and then made it
That's
better.
right.
There is something to be said about working for the big company. And
Yep.
I think you did answer the question about how there's some differences in that. See, look, I was transactional in business for a really long time, and I wouldn't, as your income mentor, advocate for you to do transactional business. I'm all about residual income. So, residual income creates cash flow stability. Cash flow stability allows you to manage your cash flow better so that you can buy assets and build wealth. That's my reasoning. The other question that I had was, is this more of a business owner thing, or is it more of like a producer? Like, do you stay in commercial real estate as a transactional individual, or do you evolve into business owner, brokerage owner, investor?
It depends what your desires are. You could become a broker if you want to do that and manage different agents, and that's more of a business managerial type of approach. My experience is more transactional. So if I don't sell, I don't eat. So I have a big drive to sell and provide value. My motivation is to sell as a producer role to be able to become a investor role. That's my main focus. So the way that you become a more of a business owner role, in my eyes, the way that I'm doing it is generate income from sales to be able to invest, create passive income through commercial real estate.
Got you. Okay.
So, for example, I have young people call me up and ask me if there is a position in our company so that they can join us and train.
Mm,
And at the moment, we don't have that. What I end up doing is referring them to some very, very good companies that I know that they have tremendous training. Because if you're green in the beginning, you need to spend a little time learning the ropes, learning the lingo, because there a lot of people use the what do you call it, acronyms, okay? And you need to know that. And
not
so you
smart to
need,
do that.
yeah, you need to learn that. And the other thing that I also get asked a lot is, how do you work with your son and make it work, and vice versa? Because I'm 30 years older than him, I think completely different in some areas than he does. He comes from owning his own business, so he's used to making his own decisions, but so am I. So how do we come to terms? And what I tell people is, if you're thinking of opening a business with your son, your daughter, your nephew, do it. I say do it. Don't be afraid that something's going to come up, because there are no guarantees anyway. And one thing that Mike and I did before because we formed a corporation, we went to our attorneys, we did all the legal paperwork, because I have
Oh,
other kids, as you know. And
yes.
so I need to keep things clear and separate, because I have other kids. So we actually formed a corporation with our attorneys and everything. And so, the more clear things are, the better friendships you have, right?
See, when it comes to mixing family and business, that's up to you. I was raised with the opposite, so I have a different view and a different take on this than Pablo and Michael, but maybe you guys are like them. But I like that.
Yeah, you have to. If you want to take it seriously, you have to run it as a business. And if you're not careful, the business will run you. Because even at this stage, the other day I had lunch at 4 o'clock. And I told Mike, hey man, I'm running out of gas. I gotta eat. And so, from one transaction to one client meeting to another, and before you know it, el lonche se fue. You got
Yep.
there's a lot of give and take. But before we agreed, we said we are not going to let this business come between the relationship of father and son. If it gets to that point, we're going to end it.
Wow.
Okay. So there was a
Good
lot of
boundary.
serious.
It's a good boundary.
Well, because we come from the idea that family is everything. If our relationship gets messed up because of the business, then we failed. Even if we made 10 million bucks or 20 million or whatever, we failed because our relationship went down the tubes. And that was something that we were not going to allow happen. And that's why when you have skin in the game, we went to our attorneys, we spent money, we made a corporation, we did different entities so that it's separate from my other businesses, and the other kids know that this is a serious business and it's our business, right?
Hmm.
And so the other businesses that I own are separate, and so forth and so on. So you have to have that vision. But I tell everybody, you want to open a business with a family member, go for it. Don't be afraid, because there are no guarantees. That relationship can fall apart even if you don't have a business together.
That's true. That's what I was gonna say. Is like
Go for it.
so
Go
many
for
things
it.
could happen. Health situations can happen.
Respect each other.
Yeah, I hear that and I like that. So we've talked a little bit so far about understanding the income model that it's more transactional. You could get into investing, a business owner type thing. Now, I'm brand new, I'm green. How much money am I making in commercial real estate the first year?
I mean, it
Big old
depends.
donut?
It depends how active you are and how creative and how many deals you do. But the average commission, we'll put it this way. Let's say that the average commission is somewhere around 3%. It might be a little bit less, right? But let's say 3%. We fight for 3%. If you sell $1 million property, it's going to be $30,000, and then
Commission.
you have to split that $30,000 with your broker.
This is what we call high ticket sales, big money in this field. So if you're on a 50-50 split with them, you're getting 15.
Correct. Correct.
Most brokerages, I'm assuming for new people, would be anywhere between 60 and 75.
You're
Yeah, I
you're
think.
right on the money. Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much, right?
yeah, I think you can find that. So yeah, that's so how many $1 million properties do you have to sell to generate, let's say 50, 60,000? I mean, or can
Oh
you
my
get to
gosh, though. But that's I mean, that's life-changing money for some people, right? Imagine, you're talking $20,000, right? If they're getting 70% on a $1 million deal off that 3%, let's just say, something like that, they get 21,000. Or if I'm doing this as a side hustle and I'm disciplined to spend my time, 3, 4 hours, learning my craft, studying and prospecting 2 hours a day, from 5 to 7, and then ending your day at 7, right? After your day job, that's life changing, because that 21,000 pays off your car, or that, whatever it does, that 21,000, maybe it's not $1 million, and maybe it's a $2 million property, and all of a sudden that's a $40,000 commission. That's incredible. That's incredible when it comes to the commission amounts. And I would say 1 million is low on commercial. 1 million is residential money now these days, bro. So it's like, geez.
But I bring that up because it's a good example of like just getting started. It could be a smaller building. You don't have to do a strip center,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
units. You could start with something like that, a smaller building. A lot of our businesses, small business owners trying to pick up a property, it's under $2 million.
Gotcha.
So that's why I bring that up. But obviously, you can get into much much bigger deals in commercial.
So
Absolutely.
commercial defined is 5 units or more, correct?
In the apartment space. But
Okay.
what we do a lot of is office buildings, warehouses, industrial buildings.
Oh, got you. Okay, okay, I hear you. So you do
So
you do like warehouses and stuff like that.
yeah,
I see. I see.
But you are right. Commercial in the apartment space, residential is going to be with apartments is going to be 5 units or more. It could be a 15 unit. We had it was 5 units
Five
in
units.
North Hollywood that we sold. That's considered commercial because it's five.
And so what kind of activity separates average earners to top earners? And if you say more prospecting, bro, we're gonna have to end. No, just
Hmm.
kidding. So tell me, yeah, what separates the average earners to the top ones?
You have to be willing to talk to absolutely everybody. I talk to everybody, and everybody knows what we do. We're using, because Michael is very good, and now he's got me on this road trip of the social media. So we have an Instagram page, we have a YouTube page, we have a YouTube channel, we have a TikTok. I mean, we're all over the place. And
Nice.
we're using social media a lot. And we're putting content out like you are. A lot of people seem to connect with the father and son relationship that we have in business. In the Hispanic community, you see it a lot, and you know other communities too. But being Hispanic, we have like a blend, and so we bond right with them right away. So you see that a lot. So everybody knows what we do, and we're using social media a lot to propel our business. So you have to have a good web page, you have to have a good social media presence. It's important
Got you.
nowadays
Got you.
tremendously.
So marketing. So marketing is probably the differentiator, and I would say the willingness to actually be known for this unashamedly, right?
Correct.
I would say that's a huge piece. And then the other one is relationships and referrals from those relationships. Some of the deals that we do are because somebody has a relationship with somebody else and they say, hey, these guys can help you out. So business has come through that as well for us. It took a while to develop that, but that's
Component of
a
it.
huge component, and we pride ourselves in creating new relationships. I mean, when my dad says we're talking to everybody, we're not. You have to be tactful, you know this.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just throwing business cards at people and
No,
stuff,
no.
but you have to be able to let people know what you do. And so we let everybody know, and we've been able to meet people, business owners that we have that we have coffee at their coffee shop or eat at their restaurant, and then we start helping them with their businesses. We build a relationship like that. It's prospecting in a different way, but it's relationship driven. It takes longer. You're planting seeds, but for us, that's been our approach. Some people do mailers, call outs. Some people
Wow.
do that. Ours has been a little bit more on the just building relationships.
All business is relationship driven. Do not let anybody tell you any different. Yeah, and that's smart. I mean, you're talking an intimate touch. You're getting to connect, and I think human beings want connection. Between the two of you being father and son, many people don't have fathers, and that's it's almost like they live through you guys vicariously in a sense, because it's almost like a dream, or like a movie, you guys' relationship. Like, how often do you actually see this working together, creating content together with father and son? Like every once in a while, one in every thousand, maybe, if you're talking business owners, but I don't see it as much. I don't see it as much. So I think that's really cool. I think the relationship piece is the most important piece when it comes to business, because all sales are relationships, but how you develop that, there's multiple ways to develop relationships. But I would probably take your approach too. Let's go eat at this house. I heard this guy wants to go maybe get another shop or expand, or maybe he wants to move his restaurant. Let's go to brunch there, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, I got you. I got
And
you.
people are open to connecting like that, and then you have to be respectful to people that don't, and that's just the name of the game. Pablo's good at that. He's good at connecting, and so he taught me that networking is huge. I remember we would go to these real estate boards. We had an insurance company we had started, and he would first take me a couple times, and then he would just say, hey, now you're going by yourself. And I was like 19, a bunch of old people there, and I didn't
Oh,
want to.
dude, I went to those freaking things, I was like, what am I doing here? Like I did not want to be there, but I did it because you're wet behind the ears, and an older successful person tells you what to do, So if he says squint your eyes, I used to squint my eyes, you know what I mean? Like that's what you do because you're trying to learn.
I have a lot of respect for you in that sense. I had this man pushing me to do it, and I listened to him because I knew it was good advice. but you did it because maybe you had a mentor or something, but you didn't necessarily have, let's say, your dad telling you get out there and go network. You had to figure it out yourself. So I give you a lot of credit, Carl.
Oh, well, my dad was a big impact on me too in that regard in different
Oh,
ways, but not directly in the same business. You're with Pablo in insurance, you're with Pablo in commercial real estate. So there's an incredible amount of respect and humility on your side towards your father that most people don't have. And I think that is a testament to your relationship. I think it's a relationship that I would advocate for, that I think people want to pursue, the relationship that you have with your father. And so it's really cool. And I like how you guys said that the relationship piece is what separates the average earners from the top earners, right? If you're just doing mailers, you're probably not creating. I get that and throw it in the trash. Who is this person? But Michael and Pablo, who I see eating at my restaurant, supporting my family, you can't get around that. That's cool. Are there any misconceptions about the income in your field?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of on social media people saying you can do it without any money. You can do it without, you can just start your first year, make a ton of money. It's possible, but I haven't seen that to be the reality. I've had to work really, really hard, and that's that I have a mentor, and then I'm working.
You
I'm
also
not.
had experience in sales and stuff too.
I also had
Yeah.
experience. A lot of people thought, hey, you already have a lot of customers that because I sold life insurance and investments, but it doesn't translate. You're the life insurance guy. You weren't the real estate guy.
Yeah,
So
man.
it's not like it all of a sudden. And so we had to start from zero. Misconceptions are that it's gonna be easy. It's a path, man. We're hustling every day to put deals together, to fight for the commission because it's negotiable, to fight for the client because how many realtors do you know out there? Everybody's a realtor and their mother, so why are they
Yeah.
going to choose you?
My mother's a realtor for sure. Okay, this is really true because although you may have some experience at your job that you think would translate to the next business, it's not going to. Every business has its own ins and outs that you're going to have to figure out. And you may have some skills that translate, like being able to communicate, or maybe you're honest or other things like that. But you're going to have to learn, which means you're going to have to put in work, which means you're going to have to spend time. So, commercial real estate is a lot of work.
There you go.
Everybody's got a realtor in the family.
Yes.
In fact, look, listen, we're negotiating a deal for our own private portfolio right now. And we're talking to the guy just this last week. We might put it in escrow this week. The guy is telling me, oh, the building I think is worth this and that. He had his own comparables. And I said, yeah, but if you put it on the market, you're going to have to pay a commission. So, and he goes, oh, my so and so in the family is a realtor. So I don't have to worry about that. So he kind of killed that part. But look, the learning curve. If somebody's green, like you were asking, and they want to get into this, my advice is do it. Do it, because one of the biggest regrets that older folks have, they did an interview on people that were in their 80s and above.
Okay, listen to this.
And one of their biggest regrets is that they had an idea or a dream that they never even took the first step to pursue it. That was one of the biggest regrets of 87, 89-year-olds that are still with us. And they asked them, what was your biggest regret? So if you have a dream, go for it. Nothing in life is perfect. So if you're afraid that you're going to make this mistake and that mistake and that mistake, you're going to have a paralysis that's going to hold you back. Go for it. If you want to open a business with a family member, go for it. Stay away from negative people. Don't listen to negative thoughts. I have this guy that I know, he quit dental school and he never told his mom and dad until 2 years later when his business was successful, because he said that he was in a traditional family, that his mom and dad would have done absolutely everything possible to get him back into dental school.
Wow.
But he had a dream and he went for it. And that's the idea. The final thing I want to tell you is that my goal for the last 40 years has been anybody that comes within 20 to 25 feet of me, I'm going to improve that person's life no matter what.
I love that.
Even if it's a 10-minute contact, I'm going to improve your life somehow. And that energy, it's felt. That genuineness. Be genuine with everybody and give it time, because it's not going to be, really, really fast. You may be lucky and, you may be making 100 grand in 6 months, but not necessarily so. You're going to have to work a little harder.
Got you. No, I appreciate that. That's good stuff. Good wisdom from the Silver Fox. So,
Uh,
um, Now, we talked about it being transactional, but is there any residual income in commercial real estate?
You could go in like the property manager route and then build like a book of business of properties that you're managing. You could do that, and
So
then you get a
similar to residential.
Yes.
correct, but
Okay.
you just understand the commercial tenant rules, which are very different than residential. That's why it's a specialty, I would say. Yeah, absolutely. If you're managing property, you would have to be with a property management firm, right? Your broker has to allow that. In terms of the sales side, there is no residual producer role, right? There's no
No.
residual. And that's why I mentioned to you earlier, and the reason I actually got into it is to generate income to invest, because in my previous role selling life insurance, for me there was residual was minimal. I had to sell
Yeah.
the real estate. If you just go into straight producer role, you're in the same situation. You have to sell to eat, unless you take that step like Pablo did. Unless you take that step and start to invest or manage property, it's going to be zero residual.
Correct.
You know, as I was telling you guys before, this is the route I would take. Residual wins. How are you going to beat that? So what you want? So what anybody listening to this should be focused on in commercial real estate is learning to build relationships, making the transactions, and managing their cash flow properly so that they can then invest in commercial real estate.
Correct.
Okay.
I believe so.
There's one more way that you can make money, and that's if, let's say, you're a broker and you've been around for a while and you start hiring agents.
Hmm.
Then, depending on the split that you have with those agents, whenever they sell something, you are actually making money and you're not necessarily completely directly involved in the transaction. But
Yes.
you
Yes.
have to be involved in that agent's training because you're hiring that person.
Yeah, you got
So
to earn your keep, right, on that.
you gotta earn your keep. So that's why when you're very new, the learning curve is important. And you can shrink the learning curve. When I wanted to learn things back 30 years ago, I had to go to the library, find a book, check the book out, and
Oh,
so forth.
yeah.
I know. This is from, the dinosaur age. But that's how I learned a lot
But
of stuff.
books?
Yeah, books.
Oh,
Remember library? Did you ever have a library card?
I
And
did.
I had a library card, and because I checked out like 20 books in 1 month, I had a little star that the librarian gave me because, oh, I was, reading a lot, whatever. Anyway, nowadays, you've got podcasts like yours. You've got YouTube, you've got the internet, you've got so much knowledge at the tip of your finger. I mean, it's actually overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay? It's
Yeah.
overwhelming.
This is
Well,
the
you
information age, right?
Oh,
it
Information age.
is,
so
but you said it
you can
earlier.
shrink your learning curve.
You said it earlier about something about action. I don't know if it was like when in doubt, take action or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
err on the side of action,
I
right?
like that a lot. That's it. I mean, you have to be moving, because if you're constantly taking action, you're going to learn, hey, this was a waste of time, but I'm correcting. So I think that that's a big one. And all the information that's out there, my approach is you have to be really focused, because there's so much information out there.
Yes, don't be doom scrolling when you should be prospecting or learning. Preach, Mike.
It's the other extreme that you could just get lost in consuming. So for me, that's what my dad says. I'm hyper focused. Sometimes he'll tell me, hey, you want to go here or there? And I'm thinking, is this going to generate income? Is this an income producing activity? If it's not, I say no. He has the ability to do that at his stage in his life. So you have to be really focused from distractions, whether they're
Got
family.
you.
And he's quite rude about it. If I'm going to tell you, I've got 6 grandkids, and I want to go here and I want him to come. And he says, is that going to make me money, Dad? You know? And so, I mean, we have a great relationship, but it's not a walk in the park either. Don't think that.
It's not.
That's funny,
Yeah,
man. No, that's funny. So,
yeah, he's
so
quite rude. I want you to know that.
Mike, I don't know you as that, but I'm gonna take Pablo's word for it. So let's talk
Laser
about
focus.
I want to talk about the lifestyle too, because what does the day-to-day look like? Is there family life balance, like work life balance? Is there freedom? The one thing that I do know about being independent or an entrepreneur is that you're free to do whatever you want, but you're also free to not work. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the lifestyle and the balance of time and whatnot.
So I'll start with the sales side of the business, and then maybe Pablo can touch on the investment side and the freedom and the day, how that day looks, because they are two separate. On the sales side, initially, too much freedom for me was bad, because I came from a lot of structure and my calendar was already like preset. I had two employees that would set my calendar up. So I didn't have the ability to just free time. When I got into real estate, my calendar was empty because I don't have any clients. And so that initially was a struggle for me. So now I'm a lot, that's why, he says I'm rude. For me, I just feel I'm very focused. I need to do income generating activities, prospecting, following up. You follow up until they buy or die, right? And
That's
that's in the
what
life
they
insurance.
say, yes or no. You keep emailing, so
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, be tactful. If you're doing the same exact follow up, then you're going to hit a wall. But what if you get creative? What if you show up at their door? What if you, and I've done those things. So for me, it's following up with people. We've built a client base that is looking for a specific type of commercial building, office space, most of
Mm.
them are industrial warehouse. So I'm constantly searching and canvassing on the market, off the market. And the moment that I find it, we're the first call, the first showing, and we get it in escrow because for us, it's not a side hustle. See, I'm going to beat the side hustle guy initially. Eventually, they will be able to build their business up. But if they're competing with somebody that is constantly 24/7 searching for a specific thing, the side hustle guy is going to call when they're off of work and I already saw it, made the offer, and I'm in escrow.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
so it's a little bit different. That's why for me, I didn't choose to do it as a side hustle. Just for me personally, I chose to burn my ships and go all in because I want to beat the best guy at it.
Okay, so Mike is talking about the commission side of the biz, and that takes work. Canvassing, researching, doing comparables, all this type of stuff. Like, you got to hone your skills. You got to be good on the phone. You got to close deals. You got to be available. You got to move fast. On the commission side, you're going to have to get after it. So, I don't know. It seems like a lot of work for not a lot of guaranteed pay. Would
And
you
that's
recommend that for a new entrant?
I'm just going to speak on my personal journey. I've never done side hustles personally
Okay.
because I wanted to say that I gave it everything and then it failed if it didn't work out. Like I wanted to say that I couldn't blame anything because I gave it everything.
Wow.
Couldn't blame that I was just doing it on the side. So that's just me. But no, I think side hustles could work for some people. I think your mindset and maybe your personality. That's just me. What about you?
So, if somebody's new and wants to get into real estate, but they currently have a job, what I would suggest is keep the job and start learning the real estate business, the lingo, start reading about it, try to figure out how to do comparables, this and that. Find a broker, get yourself to your license, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a job, especially if you're married and you have kids, you don't want to go cold turkey. I wouldn't recommend it. I
Got
wouldn't recommend it because it may take some time. And I've seen a lot of people get burned out. So, what
Yeah.
I would do is keep your job. That's my advice. Keep your job and continue to learn. And that's how I did a lot of stuff. So, that's one thing that I would suggest. On the
On
investment, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say too. On the investment side, when it comes to your lifestyle and buying back your time, this absolutely can do that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my friends that have insurance businesses, but they didn't invest in real estate, when they end up selling their book of business, they're going to be able to live off that income for some time, but then it's gone. Whereas if you have property, you have passive income, you have rents that get paid all the time. So essentially, that's the idea that your money is making money for you. That's the way I have looked at it, and that's the way it's been. And over the years, it's worked out really well for me.
I have a
And
question on the rental side. So when you're creating freedom like that, passive income, is it true that you make more rental income off of commercial properties than you do residential? And is it less overall maintenance or more?
the thing with commercial properties is that you don't have somebody living there day and night. So the wear and tear on commercial property is less.
Mm.
Okay. Also, the regulations currently in the state that we're in less regulated than residential. If you're in the city of LA and you're in residential, there's a lot of
Oh,
regulations.
you're screwed. You're screwed. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. In commercial, you're dealing also with a different type of clientele. You're dealing with business owners that potentially want to open a business there and run a business from there. And they have already been hit by some of the regulations and this and that. So they're savvy to what they need to know.
This is key, you guys. The type of people you work with matters. You want to do business with people who are doing business.
So commercial is more a numbers game, where residential is a little bit more emotional. Residential is more highly regulated.
It also seems that commercial would not have as much turnover as residential because like in a residential, if you're in like a 2-1, you're not going to get a family to stay there 3, 4, 5 years, maybe 6 years. A business, I mean, you could have a commercial property, a piece of land where a restaurant's there for decades.
Correct. So, I have a client I have a building that I own right now that is being rented by a gentleman that has a business and he's interested in buying my building.
Oh
So
wow.
we're in talks right now because now I'm interested in particularly selling that building. If you treat people with respect and you're fair with people, then that thousandfold brings back. So we're in negotiation right now. We're talking. We're in the beginning of the stage, but he's very interested in buying my building, and I'm interested in selling it. I probably will end up selling it to him. So what you do is on a lot of established businesses, you may want to give them what's called a right of first refusal for him to. If I ever decide to put it up on the market, I'll come to you first, and
Got you.
that means
Got
a
you.
lot to your tenant. Okay, that means a lot. Go ahead.
That's awesome.
If I can add, some people say that commercial generates more income than residential, and it depends. But I think that that comes from in the world of commercial real estate. Let's talk about an office building. You're able to, as a landlord investor, offset some of your costs on the building, maintenance issues. You can even have some utility issues, some property taxes or insurance. You can have the tenant pay for those. They will, in some cases, happily pay for it. So you're netting more because the tenant is not only paying you the monthly rent, but they're also covering the landscaping, the air conditioning. If there's an issue, you can negotiate all of that. In residential, you typically do not have that, right?
See, now this is cool about commercial real estate because you can get high rent and you can pawn off some of the cost to the tenant. You can't do that in residential real estate. That's a win right there.
As a
Oh
tenant,
yeah, man. No, it's like, oh, there's a cockroach. Go call the landlord. Like it's man, it's I totally understand that. And I'm thinking about my own people that I know that are investors in real estate that are having a tough time right now. I might be able to feed you guys some people, because screw the residential right now. Less compliance, less regulation. Let's get into commercial, you know?
that's
So
where our mindset is. That's what we like, because there are opportunities on the residential side, and we say, you know what, we're really focused on the commercial. That's what we're actively looking at.
that's cool.
But yeah, I think those are called triple net leases, and sometimes they're modified leases. They're not full triple net, but you can offset some of that, so you keep more as the owner.
Got you. Okay, cool. So no, that's something that we can explore later, or if anybody wants to listen, they can reach out to you guys on your channel. Again, this is the Mike and Pablo show that you guys check out their stuff. I'm sure you guys have an episode on triple net leases.
We've touched on it.
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah,
have.
touched on it. Okay, cool. We know that the industry allows you to buy back your time. You can become an investor and provides good lifestyle balance, but if you're not going to work, you're not going to make money. And that's probably one of the cleanest ways to understand this. Is there a way to systematize or delegate this type of business? Like, is there a way to implement a system? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the best systems would be to increase volume by having a brokerage. Then you have trained professionals working on their own behalf, in which I don't want to say a cog in the wheel because it's all relationships, but it's a well-oiled machine that
Mm,
brings in revenue. Is that kind of the way to scale and systematize?
you can.
You can. I think if you're going to go the brokerage route, that's definitely a way to scale. We know some very successful brokers that have, over 300 agents, and
Wow.
yeah, and they have managers. They're managing a lot of people. Like my dad says, there's a lot of training involved in that. But that's definitely a route you can go if that's your goal. When it comes to the investment side of it, when you own property, who's going to manage all that property for you? Because it's not financial freedom if you're managing all of your properties and your tenants, because there's still going to be issues.
I like passive income and I'll do anything to get it. Maybe you guys are the same. I would hope so because I preach it all the time, passive income. But you need to leverage to buy back your time. That's what the wealthy do. They buy back their time. Yeah.
There's still going to
Yeah.
be toilets that plug and roofs that leak, flat roofs in commercial real estate.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you got puddling. So what happens is that Pablo's done is he hired a property manager or a couple to help manage those assets. And when there is an issue, it gets taken care of right away to free up his time. So that's, I would say, part of the system, how you can systematize owning real estate.
Got you. No, and I like that. I mean, you're sharing some of the, net income or the profit, which would then be taxable anyway. The responsibility aspect of owning assets, because assets create income. And with those assets comes responsibility that you have to have. And I think just a clear definition of financial freedom for each person is crucial, because financial freedom to one person may look like in a completely different way to another, right? I know I've heard people that say, if I don't work, I'll die. And that's true, right? If you don't have a sense of purpose, if you don't have a sense of mentorship or curiosity to keep learning or to, it's like, what do? You either have to replace that with another life giving activity that is filling you with a sense of purpose and with a sense of meaning,
Gratitude.
right?
Yeah.
Pablo, you have anything on that?
Oh, for sure. I'll tell you what.
We're already at an hour and 10 minutes, but we'll be
We're
done in about 10, 15 minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
We're good. So, for example, I'm extremely filled with gratitude constantly because when Mike said he was going to go into real estate and he was going to sell his book of business, I thought that was a mistake because he was doing very well. And I told him, look, it's going to take you to replace this type of income. I think you're making a mistake. So I'm his father. I love him. And I told him, don't do it. Potentially, that's wrong advice. That's why you have to listen to your own heart. Because I told Mike, you're making a mistake by selling your book of business and going into real estate. You should just hold on to that book of business and go into real estate and see how you can do it. But he, to his credit, he wanted, like he said, burn the ships because he believed you either go all out or you're not going to be successful. And over the years, he's proven himself to be correct and me wrong because the way that real estate is today, it's going to be very difficult to compete with someone like us that are in it full time, 24/7, living it, eating it, running it, everything, because it's so litigious. There's so many paperwork that need to get done. And now with that new lawsuit that came about, in order to be even to be able to show a property to someone, you have to have a representation agreement. It's not like in the old days, hey, I saw this 3 bedroom, 2 bath house. Can you show it to me? Sure, I'll show it to you. Now, in order to show it to you, I have to have a representation agreement signed, or you're breaking the law.
Wow.
You can do it as a side hustle because I'm telling people, hey, do the learning part and then get into it and see how you're producing income that potentially can replace what you've got. But his is a drastic way of doing it. He had some savings, he burned his ships, went into it. There's no going back.
Right.
His book of business was sold. So you either make it
Or make it.
or make it.
Will Smith said it, I think. Like, if you have a plan B, it means you plan to fail at plan A, right?
That's
So
So you
yeah.
got to do it.
Make it or make it. Oh my gosh, I love these guys. The question is if you should do that or not. I mean, is this what you want to do? I think you should, but you really got to think through it.
That's why he said, in the particular example he gave you, we just did that, okay? A property came on the market. We saw it the very first day that it came on the market. We saw it in the first 3 hours, in the first 2 hours that it hit the market. We already had a buyer for it. We showed the property 5 hours after it came on the market.
Wow.
And we had an offer before that day was over.
Jeez.
I mean, the realtor that was representing the property had spin their head, wait a minute, we got an offer already? And now we have it in escrow. Speed is of the essence. Okay? Now, you don't have that necessarily when you're going through the learning curve because you don't have the contacts, the ins and outs, and okay? But you build it because if you have a dream and a goal, go for it.
Love it. Before we end, I want to talk about kind of the raw truth. What would you say is the hardest part of the job that people don't see? I'm trying to get in here. I'm trying to make money in commercial real estate. I like the idea. I like what Pablo and Mike are saying. I'm interested. I have my $600 to go get licensed. So what's the hardest part of the job that you guys either haven't said or maybe you did touch on it in a little bit? Talk to me about that.
For me, one of the challenging pieces is that what we earn, our commission, is completely negotiable. So that means that You know how I gave the example of 3%, you earn 30,000 on $1 million transaction?
Right.
But that's not always the case. That could be negotiated. And so for me, that's been a challenge because I bring a certain amount of value, so I want to be compensated for that. But some people don't feel that you're bringing that much value, or they just try to negotiate you down. Some people will make 1% on that $1 million deal.
Mm.
So it's completely negotiable, and that's been a big challenge. I think having a really good broker mentor that can help you negotiate that with the other party, the listing agent, or with the seller, whatever the case with the buyer, that is really important because there is no set income percentage. It's completely negotiable.
See, now we're getting to the point where the rubber meets the road. How are you going to actually get somebody to trust you, a buyer to pay you 3%? Even if they pay you 2%, that's a ton of money that the buyer has or that the seller has to pay to you getting in this. So you have to really deliver value and you must have a lot of confidence to do this. Got you. Got you. Okay. So you have to figure out how you're going to create enough value to justify your compensation. And then that value that you provide needs to be understood by the person you're representing. They don't necessarily see the things that you do as valuable because they're interested in their bottom line. Kudos to them, you know? So, what are some things that you can do that would help them visualize the value or to help them understand and see the value that you're bringing in order to maximize? If I was in the same situation, I would be thinking, okay, what is required of me to collect this 3%? And then what's the highest possible value that I could provide that is meaningful, information based, reliable, something where they're like, I should have paid him 5%,
Yeah.
you know? The,
I think having
yeah.
it's a great question. For me, I feel it's a really good communication with your client. Let's say it's
Mm.
the buyer, it's a business owner, being really transparent, good communication. This is how we work. This is what we're going to do for you. We're going to beat the guy who's right, whatever your pitch is, right? And so this is the value that we bring, experience, creativity, whatever. Being really from the beginning as you're establishing that relationship, bringing and letting them know the value that you're going to bring. Because there are some people out there who will work for 1% and
Mm.
they advertise themselves as a 1% agent.
Oh,
And
you want
so
to be a discount agent, man? Come on. Don't be a discount agent.
so
Increase the value prop.
increase the value prop. So I think for me it's communication and letting them know, and sometimes it's showing them because you can do a lot of talking, but when you show somebody that we are the first one to move on it or whatever the case that the value you're bringing, or look, I brought you this off market property, that means that there's no competition. It's an
Mm.
it's an industrial warehouse that you need, and nobody knows that it's for sale, but I know the seller or I know the broker of the seller and I am putting it in front of you. That's
Wow.
value.
That's real
So
value.
that's real value.
I
And
like
now maybe they're willing to pay whatever commission to get that done.
from what I understand about real estate, that the most important thing is getting the deal done. Aside from paying the right price, you got to be able to get the deal done. You can't get the deal done, you out, man. That's it. I think that's really, really good. I appreciate that. What type of person would thrive in this business? What steps would you give them or yourself? Like, think about your younger self. What advice would you give to your younger self, Mike, in being successful? Who would thrive, and what's some advice that you would give to your younger self?
I've been in real estate for 5 years now. I consider myself still newer to the game. For me, the advice I would give myself earlier on was more structure. Because I went with an independent brokerage, I had a lot of freedom. Because I had reserves in my bank account, I felt I had time. Those are false securities, false sense of security.
See, I think what Mike is saying here is true for anybody. We could always fall into these traps, mental gymnastics, justify biases, anything to not work, honestly.
What would I do? I would be more focused earlier on. But I do believe that we all have to go through a journey and a path, and that's learning. That's what Pablo keeps talking about. You're going to fail, you're going to make a mistake, but you're learning in the process. And as long as you're getting better. So for me, I feel I was very fortunate that I brought the sales tactics and psychology from my previous career which was huge. How to read people, I brought that, and I feel that was not a wasted time. Those years were my boot camp, or my training to get into an extremely competitive career path, which is real
Wow.
estate. So that's my take on it.
And if I could add one thing on your previous question, when you're negotiating for your commission, the value that you bring to the table is extremely important. So when you hire Mike and me, you're not just hiring Mike and me. We know the escrows that specialize in industrial. We know the title companies that are good. If you need to do an environmental, we know what companies are good, which ones are not bad. Inspection companies, we've got them. We've got this, that. So when we make a presentation, they're not just hiring us, they're hiring everybody else that's behind us that we worked with over the years and that we have a relationship with. And I have an inspector that something goes wrong, I have his cell phone. As opposed to maybe a newcomer may have the work phone. I have the guy's cell phone. I can call him directly and say, "Hey, Tom, can you explain this to me? Because I've got an issue with my seller or my buyer, and maybe I didn't come across properly. What's going on with this attic? Is
Mm.
this really a toxic thing here or whatever?" Whatever the case may be, this is just an example. But you hire us and you hire a team of different companies that we have weeded out over the years, and hopefully we've been good enough to keep the best. And so that's something that we share all the time with people.
That's a
It
huge value proposition because
is.
what you're doing is you're limiting the amount of things that can go wrong in them preventing the purchase or the sale of their property, right? And that is an overlooked thing, I think, in commercial real estate that a new person might not consider as valuable. But I
Or
think that it,
they may not have the context because
yeah,
they're
they
getting.
don't have the context. Yeah,
And
no,
that's why I'm telling everybody, get in it. And then as you move along, you're going to develop those contacts. This is all about relationships, man.
yeah,
And
and I
about,
think, well, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, and the people that you have available to you, that you can pull out of your hat because you've done business with them before. You've got environmental companies. They coming in and they're drilling holes on the property to see if there's any toxic matter underneath that, and if there is, how are you going to resolve this? And there's a lot that goes into it, that can go into it. Some of them are real nice and easy and smooth, and some of them are very complicated you know Anyway, there you go.
So last question, who would thrive in this business? The personality type, you guys could describe it, give some qualitative characteristics of somebody who would be successful in commercial real estate.
Someone like you. Yeah,
Oh man.
someone like you that can talk to people, that can really pinpoint what the true handicap of the guy, of the person you're dealing with, what's really underneath of it all. Because sometimes you have to dig a little bit with questions. Okay, like your questions have been right, great questions. You need to find out what's their hot point, right? To some people, it may be price. To some people, it may not. Some people are just fed up with the management aspect of it, and they really don't care to some degree. If they're off 50, 60,000 on the price, it doesn't matter to them. They just want to get rid of it because it's such a headache to run
Yeah.
for them. Someone that's able to be amiable, respectful, I say a little bit high energy, so that they can see that too in you, a go getter, someone that has good questions, someone that has qualities like you do.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate that. So these qualities are a must in this career. Nobody's making money in commercial real estate unless they have the qualities that Pablo listed right there. And I really appreciate you guys coming on. I mean,
Thank
Mike
you.
and I have touched base, a couple times throughout the years, and then as of late, I seen him do a lot of content, and then I focused this year on going more full time in content and bringing value. And I've been doing that already a lot on the ministry side of things, but now I got a vision to help people. And just like you guys are helping people, I want to help people make money. The problem with the economy right now is that there's two economies. There's one for the people that have assets, and then there's ones that are just kind of middle class, check to check, can't seem to make any progress.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff that's going on economically with interest rates and tariffs and government policies and all these different things that are impeding on people making progress, we got to help them make money. It's one thing to help people who have money. It's another thing to help the people that don't have the money to start making it. And that's what you guys are helping me do right now. And that's why I'm just so grateful for you guys being here, being open and honest and transparent, and just helping people understand what commercial real estate looks like and everything that it entails, you know? So you guys' perspective means a lot. I respect both of you a ton, and I know we're going to help a lot of people. And I'm just so grateful for you guys to be here. Again, you guys check out the Mike and Pablo show on YouTube, subscribe to their channel, and I know you're going to get a lot of value out of this. I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk again soon, because I have some questions on the regulation on commercial real estate, because I'm going to make some moves with some people, man. So this is
Good.
cool. This is good stuff. So appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
the opportunity,
you.
Carl. Take
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you guys have it. That is commercial real estate in a nutshell from two friends of mine, Mike and Pablo Pomez. Make sure you subscribe to their channel on the Mike and Pablo show. I'm going to rate the profession right now. I would consider it to be somewhere around a 4 out of 5. And the reason for it is because there's a few things that I liked and a few things that I didn't like. When it comes to the barrier of entry, I think that's awesome. $600 to get a license so you can sell commissions that generate thousands and thousands of dollars in the 5 figures, maybe even 6 figures of commission. I think that is by far one of the greatest benefits of this particular field. Doesn't seem like it's too hard to get started. You don't need a degree or anything like that. You can just get a license and you're good to go. As far as the startup costs, it seems like it's going to take a while for you to get traction on this. So I'm not completely sold on how much capital you need. I don't think it's just $600. I think you really need to invest time and or money into marketing your service and getting experience. We know time is money, so if it's going to take you a whole year to get good, that's a lot of money. I would call that part of the startup cost. When it comes to income potential, I love this. I didn't really get a clear answer on what the beginners can expect, but I'm actually guessing it's going to be more like zero as far as like what the income potential is at the beginning. But you could get lucky. It depends on who you know. And if this is something that you're really passionate about, I'm sure if you're energetic and passionate, you're going to be able to get some positive growth out of this particular profession. Is it scalable? Definitely. I like that. You can grow this thing. You could probably use AI and technology to make it more efficient. But if you have the entrepreneurial mind, you want to teach and mentor people, and you open up your own brokerage firm and you have some people going and scaling that way, that's cool. I did like the fact that they talked more about investing with the income that you can generate with each transaction that you can then save and then invest, right? So the income potential is, is cool, but it's not necessarily going to be easy, right? It's simple but not easy. So you're going to make money if you sell a transaction, but then what do you do with that money after that? As far as the stability goes, nah, that's not good. There's no income stability in this. It's unpredictable. Your effort is everything that's going to determine how this comes, yes or no, right? With this type of business. So that's kind of like, I'm not really for that. I like the lifestyle stability or the lifestyle freedom, because the lifestyle freedom allows you to have more family life. You can do a podcast like they just did right here. You don't have to clock in 9 to 5. So that's a plus. And then the time freedom, definitely. If you need to step away for a month or two, hustle for 6 months, get a couple transactions, and then you're able to step away. I also like the legacy impact, right? The legacy impact is huge, because if you can actually make money and transact business in commercial real estate and then take that and invest it, well, then you're a wise man, because you're creating an inheritance for your children's children. So there you have it. That's what I was thinking, the pros, the cons, and whether this profession is actually viable for you. I think if this one hit, make sure you hit subscribe and tune into the other ones. I'll be sharing more with you guys at the next one. Thank you, and we'll talk again.